So good afternoon, everyone. My name, for those of you I don't know, my name's Alain Lefebvre, and I'm the Manager of Workforce Programs for the Construction Association in Nova Scotia. Welcome to our second Construction Careers Q&A session. Lots of positive feedback on last week's session and last week's guest, so I want to thank everyone who tuned in and everyone who reached out after the fact as well. I want to take a quick moment to thank all of our program partners. A few of you are signed on and watching this today, and that's great. We really, really appreciate your continued support in this kind of new time that we're in. I want to explain as well, once again, kind of the purpose of these sessions, which is to allow anyone who's interested, and I keep saying students, but it's not just students, it's anyone who's interested in exploring careers in construction. These sessions allow you to do that from the comfort of your own home. And I think even more importantly to us, as far as the purpose of these sessions goes, is it gives folks and it gives us the opportunity to ask questions and hear from folks who have their boots on the ground, who have experience in the industry and in the occupations that we're profiling. Again, very easy. Anyone can Google welder and get a definition, but you know, to speak to someone who has the experience that Doug has is an altogether different opportunity. So really, really excited. As always, some quick virtual housekeeping. The format is Q&A. We have prepared some questions in advance. We've received some by email as well. But again, strongly encourage anyone watching to ask any questions you may have and participate using the Q&A function that you can find on the bottom of your screen. I will do my absolute best to monitor that and make sure no one is missed. I should let everyone know as well that this recording or this session is being recorded, and all the sessions that we do are being recorded, and those are available for on-demand viewing at www.buildingfeatures.ca. So please do visit there, do direct people there if you want to see these sessions after the fact. As kind of explained last week as well, we are live, you know, and I think we're getting quite good at using Zoom at this point, but there are still IT hiccups from time to time. So if we do run into some, please bear with us, and we'll do everything we can to remain on track and steamroll through. And one last thing as well, kind of as was explained last week, these sessions are going to focus on a specific or I should say a construction industry professional. They're also going to focus on specific construction industry trades or occupations. And our guest today is Operations Manager for RKO Steel here in Dartmouth. I should add RKO Steel Limited, a CANS member, a huge supporter, not just of the Building Futures for Youth program, but a number of our programs and initiatives at the Construction Association in Nova Scotia. And our guest is also a Red Seal certified welder. So a big part of today's session is going to focus on the welding trade. And I'm going to do something, or I'm going to try something a little bit different than I did last week. Last week, I gave a bit of an introduction to the trade. I profiled the trade a little bit. But I thought this week I'd get our guests to kind of fill that role. After all, it doesn't make a ton of sense, me sitting here telling you about welding when I've got a certified Red Seal Journeyperson Welder with us. So without any more blabbing from me, I do want to introduce and thank our guest today. He is Doug Ware. Again, he is the operations manager at RKO Steel. He is also a Red Seal certified welder. You know, and I just want to thank Doug and RKO Steel again for making the time for us today. So Doug, maybe if you don't mind, to start off, can you tell us in your own words, what is a welder? What does a welder do?
Yeah, definitely. You know, thanks for having me here today, Alain. Happy to help out. So the Google version of welder is someone who specializes in fusing material together using heat. You know, some of the more common materials that we typically be joining would be steel, stainless steel, and aluminum. But many more alloys in the materials that can be done and welded on. Some of the more common methods of welding that's, you know, the catchwords that everybody I'm sure would be familiar with hearing is stick welding, wire feed welding, TIG welding, those are the common ones that we deal with day in, day out, but many different forms of welding as well. The welding portion of the trade is just one part of it. We've got the metal fabrication as well, which goes hand in hand with welding. It's a huge part of our welding trade as well.
Excellent. And welding, Doug, if I'm not mistaken, it's a compulsory certified trade, correct?
It is not a compulsory certified trade in Nova Scotia. Yeah.
I am corrected then. I stand corrected. That's okay. So maybe then for anyone listening, what does that mean, a compulsory certified trade?
Compulsory certified means you need to be signed up as an apprentice to work in that trade. So when you compare, we'll get into it, but my background is out west, and in Alberta, welding is a compulsory certified trade. So you need to be signed up as an apprentice to be able to be in the trade.
Excellent. So everyone, I'm learning stuff as I go. That's fantastic.
Yeah, there you go.
A question in and around the welding trade is what opportunities exist out there for a young person or for anyone who's looking to pursue a career in welding?
Well, there's many opportunities. The simple and easy one being welding, of course. That's the obvious one. Steel fabrication, steel erection, and then you can build off the trade in many different ways. You can get into quality control, welding inspection, welding engineering, coming in as a machine operator or machine programmer, which has really expanded, with all the different machines and moving into robotics and automation. So that's a big role in the welding trade that will open up as well. Supervision, management, project planning, estimating. There's many different ways you can go in the trade.
Excellent. So that's a great introduction to the welding trade, Doug. So now, circling back to kind of you a little bit, can you just tell us perhaps a little bit about RKO Steel, what you guys do and what your role there is?
Yeah, so RKO Steel, we're a steel fabricator and erector. We've been around since 1983, so over 35 years of good product heading out there. A lot of industrial, commercial, and residential builds that we get involved in. So many of the things you see around Halifax and Nova Scotia, RKO Steel has had a hand in building. We are the only API certified shop, so American Petroleum Institute, in this part of Canada and the U.S. on the eastern seaboard. So we get involved in the oil and gas industry when that is booming. It's been pretty slow the last few years, but it's something that keeps us very busy when it is going. We're also a supplier of fabricates to the Irving shipyard, which is across the water from where we are now. So that's been a great contact for us in getting into the ship industry. So working with the Arctic offshore patrol ships. RKO, like I said, we've been involved in many landmarks you can drive around and see in Halifax and Nova Scotia. For myself, I'm the operations manager, which means I'm responsible for overseeing all the operations to make sure everything runs smoothly. So we want to see high levels of safety, quality, productivity, and efficiency. My day can include working with shop personnel, office staff. We've got quality, safety, HR personnel, dealing with project managers, procurement team, shipping and site crews, and definitely a busy role, but extremely rewarding. It's great to get in here.
Excellent. A question I like to ask of kind of any industry professionals that I run into, Doug, or that I speak with. When you were thinking back to when you were younger, maybe when you were in high school or even younger, did you have an idea that you wanted to work in the construction industry or specifically in the welding trade?
Yeah, funnily enough, I didn't. Even though I grew up around it, my father was an ironworker superintendent. My stepfather ran welding businesses in Calgary and Vancouver Island, but I just didn't know what careers were available in the trade, so it really wasn't something that I was looking into. It's just kind of had my head around finishing high school, getting into university, and going that route, because there wasn't really a whole lot of awareness around trades and what opportunities were out there. Yeah. So no, I didn't really.
Yeah, that's certainly something that's shifted in recent years is
Yeah,
getting
that's
that
good to
message
see.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So then how did, you say did you go to university, Doug?
I did, yeah. So I attended university for 3 years and started out doing my Bachelor of Science with not a lot of direction, just getting in and getting a degree.
Yeah.
And while I was there, decided that just I didn't have the passion for it, so it wasn't for me. I wanted to get into something different. So I ended up leaving and started working as a welder's helper for my stepfather, and then
Okay.
kind of everything moved from there. So
Okay, very cool.
the
Now,
rest, they say, is history.
so you're out there, you're working at a as kind of a welder's assistant. From there, how did you become a certified journeyperson welder? Did you do a pre-apprenticeship program? Did you do a direct entry program?
Uh, well, I started in BC, so it's a bit of a long story because I started in BC and finished in Alberta.
Okay.
So, excuse me, I followed the BC model, which was 12-month increments for an apprenticeship.
Okay.
So I signed up for my first year of school, which was 7 months of schooling, and that's the technical portion. And then you go and do 5 months of work. So it's up to yourself to find yourself a job and get 5 months of work before you can return for your second year. So the second year I went back and you do 4 months of the technical schooling portion, and then you get into industry and do 8 months of work.
Okay.
And from there, once I finished that, I ended up moving to Alberta, as many do, chasing work, and ended up finishing my apprenticeship there. So I took my third year, was a little bit of a different model in Alberta. I had to challenge actually my first 2 years that I got in BC,
Yeah.
just because it was compulsory certified trade and you had to be signed up right away.
Gotcha.
And then I ended up going back for my third year in Alberta, where I obtained my Journeyperson status and Red Seal certification from there.
Oh, very cool. What was there anything about the apprenticeship training process that that stood out to you that you think about thinking back on?
I think just going in eyes wide open. There was so much to learn. I grew up around the trades, but never really got too involved as a young person. But thought I had a pretty good idea of what a welder was, and then I got to school and realized I have no idea, and there's a lot to learn.
I got a question coming in from the Q&A here, Doug. And that question is, how much value do you place on having that family connection with your stepdad when you first got started? Did that help? Did it hinder?
I think probably, I want to say growing up, maybe it hindered it a little bit because, as a teenager, who wants to hang out with their parents, right? But getting into it, probably the entry level. So getting into my first year of school and my second year of school, it was a very busy time for school. So I was lucky to have a contact in the industry that could kind of talk to the instructor and say, listen, this is going to be a tradesperson. Can you help push them through?
Yeah.
And maybe just having that bit of a background of knowing what things are maybe helped a little bit as well.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So you went through the apprenticeship process, you became certified. Can you tell us a little bit about your kind of very first role as a journeyperson welder?
Yeah. My first job as a journeyperson, so many years ago, I was working in Calgary at the time, and we were building frac and cement trucks for the oil and gas industry. So it was something that I'd worked at previously as an apprentice, and ended up getting back on after I became a journeyperson. Worked actually just a few months at that location, and then decided to start up myself with my own portable welding business, and then grew from there. So
that's interesting, because that's an avenue that I'll often hear tradespeople talk about, or people promote the opportunity as a tradesperson to start your own business. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, it was, I got to be honest, it was nerve-wracking to start for sure, because I had a 1-year-old daughter at home, and And here I am chasing work, and a couple weeks in, and there's nothing, and I'm thinking to myself, geez, what did I get myself into here?
Yeah.
But things all worked out. You find something, and you stay busy. You go in with a good attitude. You work hard, and people get to know your reputation, and you end up making it from there. So it was a challenge, but a very exciting time for sure.
Excellent. I've got another question coming in via the Q&A function. And they're asking, did you find it difficult to find a company to take you on when you were starting the apprenticeship process?
No, I didn't at the time. So just thinking back now, so when I first went to school, I actually ended up just getting a couple roommates. I went to school in Vancouver at BCIT. Okay. And funnily enough, I ended up moving up to northern BC in Fort St. John with one of my roommates. His dad worked for a pipeline company, and they were looking for a welder, so it all kind of worked out from there. I would say when I finished my second year, it was a bit more of a challenge. I was on Vancouver Island and not a lot of industry there, so I really had to pound the pavement to find work. And then again, moving to Calgary was the same thing. It's just getting out there, seeing people, dropping off resumes, trying to get in and ask some questions, be energetic. That's how you can get your foot in the door.
I think that's a great point. It's something that we always, we try to hammer home to the young people and the students that it's, you can't just sit on your hands. It's not going to just happen for you. You have to actually say, get out there and create some opportunities for yourself.
You bet.
Excellent.
I think a great opportunity is like right now with the Building Futures for Youth or through NSCC work terms or high school work terms is a great opportunity for students to get their face into businesses and for businesses to see the students. And that's a great start for anybody that's able to.
Yeah. Get lots of questions coming in on the Q&A, which is awesome. Talking about, Doug, again, kind of that pounding the pavement, the finding, the creating these opportunities for yourself. Do you see that in your role now very often? I know obviously you're involved in the Building Futures, but do you get young people kind of knocking on your door or calling, dropping off resumes, looking to have a chat with you?
Yeah, we do. You see more online now, but we get the occasional person that'll come in and drop off a resume, and definitely really encourage that. Anytime you can get FaceTime with somebody, that's a huge bonus in, for myself. If I'm looking to hire somebody and I'm flipping through 20 or 30 resumes, if I come across somebody that I remember seeing that came to the door, they may just get bumped up to the front of the pile, and we may try them first. So huge benefit to coming and getting your face in there.
Yeah, that's a great thing for young people to hear. I'm curious, Doug, and what would have been, again, like thinking back to, just getting started in the industry, what was the hardest part of the welding trade for you?
Toughest, probably just getting started. Like I said, like just pounding the pavement, getting your foot in the door. And then when you do get your foot in the door, building up a reputation so that you can stay there. You show up as a young person, the expectations may not be that high, so you really want to get in there and make yourself valuable, and be a part of the team, because once you become a part of the team, man, it's great. There's nothing better than being involved in trades and being part of a work group, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, we hear that the teamwork side of things all the time, and I think that's fantastic. It's something that we try to highlight quite a bit to young people when we're promoting careers in construction and certainly careers in the trades. Some of the reasons they might want to consider them, and a big one obviously are the benefits, all the things that come with it. So I always like to ask, and I don't like to put people on spot when talking salaries, but in your experience, how does the salary of a welder compare to other occupations, teachers, police officers, et cetera, in your experience?
Yeah, welding specifically is a trade where you can make a great living. Entry level, you're coming in, you'd be much higher than average compared to what you would normally get a job as a young person or as a new tradesperson of any age, really.
Yeah.
And there's just so many avenues you can take in the trade that, I mean, you can compare it to some very high wage earners for the amount of salary you can make in different parts of the trade, for sure. So it's definitely a great trade to make a good living, and it's very rewarding, for sure.
Excellent. I got another question on the Q&A, and it's a great question here, Doug. We were talking about, again, kind of the pounding the pavement, the FaceTime, young people reaching out. When a young person is reaching out to you, do you prefer them to call ahead, or would you, or are you just available if someone was to show up to your office? I know that's kind of a tough one, but
Yeah.
what would be the best way for a young person, for a teacher, for anyone who would be looking to get a hold of you?
Any method, honestly. You can call, you can email, you can drop off a resume. Best results are doing more than one of above. So if you were to drop off a resume and follow up with a phone call, follow up with an email, ask if there's ever time for a shop tour, something like that. If you can do more than one of those options, you're really getting somewhere.
That's excellent. I should add to that as well, Doug, that if, and I do usually say this at the end, but if anyone has a question after the fact or would like to track you down, people can always reach out to me as well, and I can kind of make that connection.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Doug, having been in the trade and around the trades now for a number of years, how or has the welding trade changed over the years, kind of since you started till now?
Yeah, very much so. A couple key ones. Safety would be one that's changed tremendously from when I started 25 years ago, and it's, I mean, obviously it's changed for the better. Safety now is the top priority at any job site and any location that you go to. It needs to be not only for the employees but for the employer. You want everybody to show up to work and go home the same way they showed up, right? So that's been a huge change. I want to say, even starting out working for my stepfather, it was just get the job done no matter the cost. So it's changed tremendously now for the better. Technology is another way it's changed leaps and bounds. I mean, the ability to pick up a cell phone and be in touch with anybody at any time. We use iPads in the shop and on site, so we can look up like a 3D model of whatever we're fabricating or erecting. You could easily pull it up and see what you're looking at. So that was a big change. I want to say probably awareness to the trades too. Like I said, when I first started, there wasn't a whole lot of awareness in the trades, but I mean, you hear about it now on the radio, you hear about it you see it on the TV. You guys are excellent at promoting it at all levels. You're hearing about it. I'm hoping students are hearing more about it now in high school, and they get the opportunity to come out and connect with employers. So that's great.
Excellent. That's awesome, Diane. And I'm so glad again to hear the safety side of things. And, I know it, and I'm sure of it. But to hear it from folks as often as I have been, certainly in doing these sessions is fantastic. Another area, Doug, where, the trades have certainly changed over the years, and we're hoping that they continue to change even more, is in and around the idea of diversity. And I'm wondering, what would you say to a young woman or perhaps a young person from, one of our Indigenous communities who is considering a career in welding?
Well, there's many opportunities. Just get involved, find the right location. Anybody's going to give you a chance. Just get your foot in the door, work hard, have a good attitude. No matter man, woman, any race, is no issue. I mean, Nova Scotia's, I think I moved here about 10 years ago, and I found it to be excellent here in that regards. Nova Scotia, the apprenticeship board are doing a great great push right now to have women in trades. And, you know, I'm a huge supporter of it. We had probably our strongest, each year we take students from NSCC in the welding and the metal fabrication trade. So
Okay.
they'll come and work as either a first year or a second year student and do a bit of job shadowing. When you're in your first year, you come and do 2 weeks of job shadowing. In your second year, you'll do a 5-week job shadow. And we've had our strongest turnout for women this year. And it was great to see. And I'm going to tell you, like, they were dynamite. And the women that we've had come through our shop are great futures ahead of them. So it was great to see that. I mean, for so many years, we're using half the population, right? So, I mean, we need tradespeople. Should be anybody and everybody should get involved.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Got another question in coming on the Q&A, Doug. Do you have any advice for students who are kind of considering taking training in and around the welding trade, but are unsure of the right fit, and they're trying to choose between welding or metal fabrication, for example? Would you have any advice for young students on that?
I mean, the difference between welding and metal fabrication, the majority of your knowledge is going to be job-based. Yeah. So either or will get you started, and you can do both. We've got people that have their journeyperson status in both disciplines. So I would recommend just welding or metal fabrication. If you're unsure, get in and see some shops. RKO Steel is a great supporter of the trades and apprenticeship. So if anybody's interested, they can always reach out, stop in, see what it's about. If they come in and realize it's not for them, great. That's the time to realize it before you sink a bunch of time and money into school. Although that being said, the Nova Scotia definitely is a great spot for like the government subsidized schooling and apprenticeship grants, and it's a great time right now to get involved in trades because there's so much opportunity right now in it. Yeah, it's great.
You said it. That's fantastic. It really is, and a common thing that I hear when I'm talking to tradespeople who have been in the industry for a while is, I wish they had programs like this or programs.
Yeah, definitely.
Started. So it really, young people are very fortunate, I think, now to have some of these opportunities.
You bet. And to have the option of trades, and you compare it to going to university for 4 years or more, you're paying some higher schooling costs, and you're probably coming out with a bit of student loan debt. Where working through the trades, you're able to make money as you're getting through your schooling because you're working during a portion of it. You're getting some subsidized and some grants from the province, and I believe federal as well right now. And then when you're done, you've got a career. You're ready to go. You're not out there looking. You've got a career.
Yeah. No, I've only recently put my student loan debt in my rear view mirror, and you're starting to see the gray coming in on that. That's excellent. So, Doug, looking at kind of the role you fill now, you've kind of transitioned into a management role. Yeah. How did would you say your role as a welder prepare you for a management position?
I was very fortunate to work with a lot of great mentors and coworkers to learn from as I went through the trade. So that played a big part. And the ability to, once you get that training, the ability to put it into action as a supervisor or a lead hand, to help with apprentices coming up through or fellow coworkers, and even working with different trades on sites. It definitely gave me good prep for the skills that it takes right now to do my current role as an operations manager. So the amount of on-the-job training you get as a welder is tremendous. You get in a shop, you get on a site, for me, my very first year out of school, like I said, I went up to northern BC and worked for a pipeline outfit, and started out without any mentorship up there. So I really had to get hands-on and learn everything myself. And then you get to a different situation where you're working with somebody and you get great mentorship. So you're picking up their knowledge as well. So it's definitely exciting for sure.
Excellent. I got another question coming in on the Q&A. And that question is, how long were you working in the trade before transitioning to that operations management position?
I was working in the trade, I guess about 15 years before I get into the operations management. Yeah.
You've aged fantastically, Doug.
Yeah, thank you. I had, like I said, if you've got the eagerness to work hard, if you're willing to learn from people, there's so much knowledge out there. If you get in with the right group, you pick up from the people that have been in the trades for years, and they're eager to help you learn. Right? We've got so many workers here at RKO Steel that are, that have been in the industry for so long. They're eager to help. They're eager to show. They're eager to show people what to do. Right?
Excellent. I've got another great question coming in on the Q&A, Doug, and it's one of the barriers that this person has come across working with high school students is that a lot of youth are looking for entry-level part-time jobs while they are in high school, but trades-related part-time work outside of school hours is rare. Do you know of any opportunities, for students that would be more trades-related? And again, what would you recommend a young person do when trying to make a few dollars, but also looking for relevant work experience?
Yeah, that is a tough one, part-time. I guess my first recommendation would be if you can get on anywhere as a laborer in a trade you're interested in, at least you're immersed in the actual trade. You can see what's going on. The pressure might not be as intense as starting directly in the trade. We've had some great luck with building futures for you students. So we've had them work summers for us and then ask if they can come in and work part-time during their March break, say, for example, or over the summer. So there is definitely part-time opportunities. Yeah. Not a lot maybe in the trade, but for the right person, if you've got the willingness to get out there and make it happen, it'll happen. Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. So again, thinking about your current role as an operations manager and you're managing tradespeople, what, now that you're kind of on the other side of that a little bit, what, major skills and qualities do you look for in a young kind of aspiring tradesperson?
Attitude, for sure. Coming in with a great attitude. If you've got good attitude, we can always train for skill. Skill helps, but it's not the do-all, end-all. So good attitude, expect to work hard, come in with a good work ethic, be willing to learn, have a willingness to learn. So, you may come in and work with somebody and you may not get to do what they're doing, but at least you're soaking in the information and you're able to pull in that learning. Show up every day, show up on time. That's a big one. Just have a passion for what you do. To have, there's got to be a reason you're driving in or taking the bus in or taxi, walking, however you get to work. Just show up and have that passion to get there and be a part of the team every day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And to echo it as well, to a person, whenever I ask a tradesperson a similar question, some version of that same response comes out.
You bet.
And we can teach them the trade, we can teach them the skills, the hands-on stuff. That's we figure that out. But the desire, the want to, the soft skills, showing up on time. What is actually?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it sounds easy, but it's so important, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, skill set, you can learn the skills. Obviously we're going to want to see a progression of skills as you get on somewhere, but the skill set is really the easy part if you come with the right tools: attitude, work ethic, attendance, right?
Yeah. No, that's fantastic advice. we're approaching 10 after, and I do want to be mindful of your time, certainly, Doug, but one of the questions I like to ask everyone is, do you have any funny, strange stories, anything from your experience in the construction industry up to now?
Many funny stories. Don't know that
you can share.
We could share too many of those ones, but I suppose just the the teamwork and camaraderie you get from working in just with different trade sites, different trade shops, I mean, you find all sorts, right? And it's the fun of just telling stories while you're working, while you're on your breaks and stuff like that. That's definitely the fun part. Probably a strange one for me. I guess I bucked the trend of moving to Nova Scotia for work from Alberta. That's something that people always ask me. You moved here for work from Alberta? Usually people move from here to Alberta. So that's probably one of the strangest ones, I guess, for myself.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. And I'd love to know, do you see it all in your experience now? Do you see a lot of people coming back from out west versus obviously a few years ago where, it was in the
We definitely did a few years ago. So we're fortunate enough here at RKO Steel. We've got a great group of personnel. We've got a great core, and we build as industry gets busy. We build up our crew levels, and they kind of ebb and flow. But we've got a great core. We did see some influx of people. I'm thinking back now to 2014, 2015, when oil and gas started to slow down quite a bit. We saw quite a few people moving back to Nova Scotia. The addition of the shipyards and it's great to know that if you break into the trades in Nova Scotia, that you can stay here and make a career of it, right?
That's excellent. That's fantastic. I'm not seeing any new Q&A questions, so I'll give a moment if anyone has any other questions they want to ask on the Q&A. But while we're waiting for that, I will say again, anyone after today, if you have any questions for Doug, anything that we didn't cover that you would like to know a little bit more about, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find all my contact information at our website, which is www.buildingfutures.ca, or at our CANS website, which is www.cans.ns.ca. Lots of information there, not just on construction careers, but on the construction industry as a whole in Nova Scotia. So by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, this session as well will be available for on-demand viewing on the website as well. So I'm not seeing any more questions. So I think we will wrap it up. Doug, again, I really do want to thank you, and I want to thank RKO Steel as well for making the time for us this afternoon. It was a great conversation. I love to see.
Happy to do it. Yeah, thanks for reaching out. We're happy to give any knowledge we can back to potential students and potential future workers, right? We want to see you here. So
excellent. Well, again, thank you very much, Doug. And last thing I'll mention, folks, is keep an eye out for information for next week's session. We got an interesting session coming up next week where we're actually going to be joined by two Journeyperson plumbers, Ben Pitts and Adam Hill from Iron Dog Inc. And we're going to talk about the plumbing trade and specifically some of the differences between a construction plumber and a plumber who does more service work. So another interesting conversation coming up, as was this one. So thank you again, Doug. Thank you, everyone who tuned in and watched today. And once again, everyone, stay safe.